meeting. Hello, everyone. I'm really excited today to be in conversation with Shan, Ted Ross, and Denise Doolan, because these three people are really the faces behind the International Society of Vaccines. And we were just thinking in preparing for this meeting, we were thinking, wouldn't it be nice if the audience actually would get a better understanding what ISV is doing, how people can get involved in the organization, how the organization came about, how you can become a fellow, and all these kind of questions. But I think for me, one of the most interesting parts of the ISV and the ISV fellows is that all these individuals are really interesting people with a very interesting background. So I would like to start with Ted and asking Ted, like, briefly introduce yourself and just say in a few minutes how you got involved in the organization and what excites you about it.
Thank you, Manon. I am the director of the Center for Vaccines and Immunology at the University of Georgia. I've been working on vaccines and infectious disease models for almost 20 years. I started attending ISV congresses as a postdoc, and then as a professor. I was quite intrigued by vaccines and spent most of my career now working on vaccines and vaccinology. In 2012, I was asked by the leadership of ISV if I would mind stepping into a role that had been vacated as the treasurer of ISV. Shan actually was the president at the time and asked, would I do that since someone stepped down? And there I got involved in the leadership, and for the last decade, I've been part of the leadership team of ISV, helping with the Congress, putting them together at various locations, also helping the society grow and to try and bring in new members.
All right, terrific. And scientifically, you and I have crossed paths because we both have an interest in influenza, right?
Yes, so, we do.
Denise, how did you get involved and what is your real interest?
So I'm a professor of infectious disease and immunology and vaccinology at James Cook University in Australia and at the Australian Institute of Tropical Health and Medicine. My primary focus is on developing vaccines for infectious diseases, particularly diseases that affect people in the tropics. So I've got a real interest in particularly trying to prevent and help public health throughout the world, not just in sort of the countries like Australia and USA. And I was involved in the International Society of Vaccines. I was asked to consider being part of the executive board quite a few years ago. And like Ted, I was a member of ISV as a postdoctoral fellow, and then I was involved with the conferences and then became part of the executive board. And I was involved in organising the ISV conferences, in particular in Paris and then in Atlanta, and subsequently moved my way through the different positions in the executive board and was asked to consider becoming the secretary, which I did. And then after that, I'm now the president-elect. So looking forward to taking over from Ted as president next year and really trying to promote ISV. So it's been a great opportunity to be involved with this society.
Very exciting. And in preparation for this meeting, I read the portrait that you wrote and was published, I think, in Human Vaccines in 2008. And it's really, I really recommend everyone to read that because it gives a very nice insight in who you are and how you got to where you are. Nice story. So with that, Shan, you are obviously the man behind the scenes who has his hands in many things and has been involved probably for the longest time of this group with the organization.
Thank you. I'm very happy to welcome everyone to this year's unusual Congress. It's virtual, but I think probably we have more fun, more different format. I'm a professor of medicine at the University of Massachusetts Medical School. I'm a physician scientist. I started vaccine research while I was a postdoc fellow. We were one of the early groups start exploring the DNA immunization or DNA vaccine. That, believe it or not, was almost 30 years now, this year or next year. So I later continued with my own laboratory. I established probably the first called the Laboratory of Nucleic Acid Vaccine in the world, believe it or not, over 20 years now. I continue to use the DNA vaccine to explore HIV vaccine development. We pushed that into human, almost phase 2 now. Also, many other emerging infections, including influenza, as everyone, and some other emerging or biovirus defense target. I was involved in ISV, was around 2007, 2008, when the ISV was in a very critical transition period, which I will mention later as the history of ISV. So I was very lucky to get a chance to be involved as a volunteer. I did my job as a board member, all kinds like a treasurer, or I was also elected as a president for one term. Then I remain as a board member or as an officer when there is a vacancy, no available candidate. So I just step in. I have many really doing the behind operational management issue, because the ISV is a very small but volunteer-based, highly efficient. We don't waste a lot of money or resources. So everyone has to do a lot of work, so including me. So I mainly work on the organization of a Congress. We were very happy. We have an in-person Congress. And now last year, we have organized 7 virtual Congress, and this is the 8th one. So we hope we have more people joining us and working on the Congress and many other activities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So Denise, you already mentioned very briefly that you became involved originally in the organization as a student, and all 3 of you basically have mostly an academic background. But maybe you already addressed, I got involved a little bit, starting as a secretary of the organization, then became the vice president, and now I'm the incoming president. But could you give maybe some pointers and some recommendations for people who might be interested in following that same track in the audience?
So I think one thing I really like about ISV is, as Shan mentioned, it's a volunteer organisation, and the people that are involved in it are really dedicated to vaccines, developing vaccines, implementing vaccines, and actually all different phases of the whole vaccine development pipelines, from basic research to development, implementation, and clinical studies. And so I think really there's a lot of opportunities for people to be involved, no matter what the interest. And I think that's one of the things we'll talk about later, is in terms of the scope of ISV. And so really, if people are interested in being involved, it's just a matter of reaching out to any of the people on the executive board or through the website where there's links there. Join up to be a member. There's many opportunities to do that. And then throughout the board, there's different opportunities to be involved in committees. And really what we're looking for is people that are really engaged, energetic, and really dedicated, and trying to really do anything that they want to do in the society to promote any of the sort of different aspects of vaccines that we can. So it's a not-for-profit. We've got representation, as you said, from we're academia, but there's also representation from industry. There's representation from not-for-profit organisations. It's a very, very broad spectrum. And so really anything that anyone wants to do that fits within the context of the scope of our mission is really encouraged. And we really value people joining and bringing in new blood, essentially.
That's always good, right? So, Ted, you again, similar background. You now have almost 2 years as president under your belt. Any, any lessons, any thoughts for people in the audience? Should they be interested in pursuing a similar career?
Well, I think of all the people that have served as president, which we've had several distinguished researchers and scientists serve in this role, I had the unique opportunity to spend my entire tenure virtually, since I started in January 2020 and it ends in December 21. So most of the time I've spent myself right here on the Zoom box talking to people. However, the opportunities, as Denise mentioned, are quite broad. And we are looking for people that want to really engage and promote vaccines. So you don't have to be an officer or have to be on the board to really contribute. We have committees that, and we have many people that will sit on these committees. Their time commitment is pretty minimal. We have an outreach committee, which selects papers of the month and some papers of the year in vaccinology. We promote those, and that really doesn't take very much of their time. We want people to be engaged in our social media activities. We also want them to be involved in membership. And in other ways, we want to make sure that people are getting out of the society things that they need. So we want to be responsive to them. Younger people are really oftentimes looking for and are hungry for ways to contribute, and they don't feel necessarily that they are at the stage where they could be up here with the big heavyweights. But we want them to know that the opportunities exist, that we want junior people and young scientists to be part of the society and actually have a contributing role, because it's not just dominated by the old senior people. We really want a lot of younger people involved. And we've been able to reach out to quite a number of them through the virtual webinar series we've had. I mean, one of the good things about the COVID outbreak, it's caused us to think in different ways about how to communicate and how to get our message out. So that is a silver lining to this entire pandemic.
Yeah, I think what the organization has demonstrated in the past year is that it is a way to connect with people that might help you on all kind of ways and all kind of fronts. It was very enlightening to me that whoever we wanted to reach out to, we were able to find somebody in the organization who could make a direct connection and build some enthusiasm to help us with things. So I think you guys have done a wonderful job there. So Shan, do you have any final thoughts here? Because we've heard a lot of things about how people can get involved and what they can do. Anything to add?
Sure. I think in some way, this is the best time in vaccine, right? The reason we can have a meeting, we feel comfortable, we can go out, especially in US or European countries, because we have vaccine. Otherwise, our mindset, even though outside in this country, we have 100,000 people every day got infected, but many of us don't feel that much scared versus last year this time, because we have a multiple vaccine, 9 or so, developed within 10 months. This is unheard of. This is, I think, if a human look back at 2020, this is a landmark. That's a remarkable achievement. I think we should thank every vaccine scientist, technician, industry people. This is a golden time. So I feel I'm very fortunate. I'm prepared at the right time to join, to learn, even though I was not on the first group to develop vaccine. We do have it in pipeline, but I was working with Isv, organizing Congress, promoted the idea, or argue against conspiracy theory. People make up the side effect which does not exist for vaccine, or misunderstanding, or develop a better vaccine. I think the future is just wonderful. The mRNA vaccine shows first COVID. Who knows what's the next one? From preventive vaccine to therapeutic vaccine, I think the horizon is immense. So I think ISV can provide a platform and stage for anyone interested, even partially. If you are biologist, you are biotechnologist, you can use this platform, promote your own work, promote your career development. So this is a wonderful place. And I think we are here, senior member or fellows, will be happy to work with the future generation scientists, whether in vaccine or other area.
Yeah, thank you, Shan. That's really great. And I think it is very important to mention that somebody like Catherine Janssen, the Chief Scientific Officer of Pfizer, was critically involved in getting those RNA vaccines off the ground. Unfortunately, she cannot participate in this meeting because she is taking some well-deserved rest. We'll also meet we have seen in one of the fellow meetings, Sarah, who played an amazing role in getting ready with the adenoviral vaccines that ultimately ended up with AstraZeneca. And I think later in this meeting, we'll meet somebody from AstraZeneca who will also talk what they've done and what they've contributed. So I think this just shows that ISV has been in the center of this all, and hopefully will continue to be in the center of many of these developments. So Shan, you mentioned earlier, you're going to tell us a little bit about the history of ISV, and I think that a lot of people are very interested in learning more about that.
It's a long history. If you really want to detail, actually at our website, the www.isv-online.org, you will find a nice history written by previous president and founding member of ISV, Professor Ray Spear, who unfortunately passed away a few years ago. So ISV history, we may divide it into 3 phases. The original funding was in early 90s, 1992 to 1994. At that time, the vaccine changed from a pure industry product to more academic research. We know more about biomarker, immunology. We know why vaccine work, and so on and so forth, structural biology, immune response. So that's why at that time, people say, maybe we should get together. That's how the ISV was initially founded. And then at that time, we don't have a web, we don't have email. So it's very hard to organize people globally. So people take advantage of some conference. At that time, a very famous meeting called the Cold Spring Harbor Vaccine Meeting. They run a few years. So almost still some like an active member, like our current board of chair, Margaret Liu, who was attendee at that time, David Weiner, and some other people. So Cold Spring Harbor, and that really become the platform. People have a meeting, but unfortunately that meeting did not continue. So that's why ISV got a little bit lost. So there were second periods, quite a long period. They try to have a meeting here and there, or try to collaborate with some existing association, and also how do you get funding? So become quite a challenge. And also the industry people, they have limitation, how much they can talk, exchange. So things getting very slow or quiet. Then came really the third phase, the more modern phase of ISV started from 2007. When the journal Vaccine, at that time, Professor Ray Spear was still the editor-chief. Elsewhere, the publisher of Vaccine said that maybe we should have a 25 anniversary celebration. Let's have a meeting, celebrate the journal, celebrate the career or contribution of Professor Spear. So the meeting was organized at Netherlands, Amsterdam. Manon, that's your hometown area, probably country. So that was just a one-time event. But by that time, the worldwide vaccine become a hot area. So they attract a lot of people. So the journal, everyone was shocked. And then at the dinner, or drinking time, we say, maybe we should do more. So that's how they decided, let's try United States. How about Boston? So I volunteered. I say, let's do it in Boston because I'm true vaccine lover. So let's say we do that. And also at that time, Novartis just bought the Chiron, made the Chiron a Novartis vaccine. So become, very big supporter. So that's why Ray Spear came to Boston, and then we start from scratch. At that time, we have 0 penny in our account at that time. But luckily we start 2008, the meeting was a success, several hundred people, very good. Then next year in Singapore, so we move around among North America, Europe, and Asia. That's how we do. And then at the Singapore meeting, we reorganize ISV, we revise the constitution. From that point on, we have every 2-year election. So no president will take the job more than 1 term. So we make sure this continuity, but not let any one or group people dominate. It's a very democratic process. So that's how at that time we established a web, the internet, and also email, and also the Congress. So we wrote the meeting among Boston, Singapore, Vienna, Seattle, and Shanghai, Barcelona, Philadelphia, Seoul. And that was 1915. At that time, our partner Elsevier, the publisher, they decided they don't want to work with a nonprofit. They want to promote vaccine as their strategy. At that time, we said, okay, maybe ISV should just run ourselves from 2016. So ISV continue run the Congress by ourselves. We have a meeting in Boston, Paris, Atlanta, and Ghent, Belgium. We were going to have the next meeting last year in Quebec City, Canada, but unfortunately due to COVID, we now turned into a virtual meeting. So that's basically the history. We are very happy in the last 15 years, so ISV has grown substantially. especially during the COVID. Now we are the only voice or platform can have almost, not almost, every manufacturer, provider, developer can give us an update. We have 2 series. The first was in the pipeline. The second was the product at the EUA approval. So I think ISV, everyone agree now, is the leading platform. So we welcome, other young scientists, next generation, or established scientists join ISV. So that's sorry for a long history introduction,
well,
but it is very long
history, and you did an amazing job trying to summarize that all in 5 minutes. So thank you for that. And I would like to come back to the financing of the organization in a little bit, but first, maybe go back to Ted and really talk about the mission of ISV. What is the mission, and how do people, how do people participate in that? And you are on mute, Ted, so you may want to unmute yourself first.
So yes, I actually always tell people the mission is right there in the title. We're the Society for Vaccines. The goal is to promote and to support vaccines in all its forms. That's not just the manufacturing and the scientific discoveries of vaccines. That's also in public policy. That's in governmental oversight. It really is the totality of vaccines. So our mission is to support the people in our society and vaccines in general, to bring vaccines to the market, to help researchers, to be a resource for all of people who want to work on vaccines. We're not really pushing any given agenda. It's really, we support all areas of vaccinology. And so veterinary vaccinology, human vaccinology, so we want to bring resources to people. So our website serves as a source where you can find information on vaccines. We try our best to bring out the best information, and it's not, sometimes it's not always positive. You want to bring all the information about vaccines forward, but the goal is not to be dealing with conspiracies, and understanding that vaccines are one of the most important developments for biomedical research in the last 100, 150 years. And as we've seen with COVID, it really can change your life. Vaccines are very important for that. So that's really our mission. And we want to bring people in who have that like mind, that would like to support vaccines and do anything they can to bring that positive message forward.
So communication and networking is really one of the major tools that we have to our ability to make that happen, right, Ted? So is it correct to say that the major event for ISV is the annual Congress, and now with the virtual possibilities that we have, we might be able to do other things, but are there other things that you envision that we should be doing other than being heavily involved in organizing meetings, selecting papers of the year, etc.? Any thoughts there?
Our Congress has been really the best way that we've networked historically. I think, as I said, we now have a new understanding of how to communicate. We've been able to reach out to many more people worldwide through these virtual webinars and congresses that we've had. But on an individual level, we are wanting to support local communities. We can actually have more specialized meetings in certain areas, but not areas of vaccines, but also areas of the world where we can actually help support the people that there, get more information and to communicate more effectively within a particular region of the world or a particular discipline. And that's something we've sort of learned now through this whole virtual system, that ISV can actually have outreach beyond just having an in-person meeting where people show up. And really, it's difficult for people in some countries to travel all the way around the world and attend these meetings. This has been a great way to reach out to them and then to communicate with us.
And I think that this meeting will have a number of possibilities for people to have chats with one another, etc., so that the attendees have been able and should be able to talk to one another and maybe exchange email addresses if they want to do further. Did you want to add to that, Shan?
Yes, I think what Ted touched is very important, because we call International Society Vaccine is not just a membership. We also not forcing any local organization to merge or to be taken over by ISV. No. So we have many local vaccine group as a partners. Go to our web and look our history. we have organized activities jointly, or the local organizer be the main organizer. We go there as their co-sponsor. We have worked with South Korea, Japan, Canada, Russia, Turkey, and South Africa, China, you name. We have so many. It's all joint activity. We should do more. And also Belgium, for example. So I think we eventually, being one of many, we are partner. We each serve different functions, help each other. So that's kind of big scope.
Thank you. So Denise, you're going to be very pleased, obviously, that you are a female, and I have already, by the way, been approached by some people that were disappointed that we didn't have enough females on our program, and I was disappointed about that too. But interestingly, very often women say no to certain, opportunities that men would, very quickly embrace. You're going to be probably the second female president of the ISV, if I'm not mistaken. So big task for you, big example position for a lot of young scientists, young female scientists that are amongst us. What would you like to accomplish in the coming 2 years? And hopefully you're not like Ted tied to the computer screen, but actually you're going to be able to meet us in person.
Yes, I certainly hope so. So I guess one of the things that I want to really do is really try and promote the geographical representation of ISV. As has been mentioned by both Ted and Shan, we are not just a US-based organisation. We are representing all the different countries, and the membership is derived from many, many countries throughout the world, representing all the different continents. And we organise our board meetings, and we consider the time zones and everything. I'm based in Australia, and so, it's different time zones. But trying to get people involved from all the different countries of the world, but also from the different aspects of vaccinology. So far, there's been quite a major emphasis on human health, but we're also representing animal health and wildlife health and all those other things. And as Shan mentioned, being engaged with partnerships, for instance, in Africa. So bringing in sort of that big, the One Health concept and bringing in all the different aspects of vaccinology into there. And the other thing I'm really interested in promoting is the bringing in scientists, in particular the junior scientists, and getting them more engaged. ISV's played a really important role in mentoring scientists, and we've had meet the fellow sessions where at our real life conferences where junior scientists to come in and talk to the fellows, and we wanted to be expanding that, but also engaging people, particularly in more junior stages, within the actual roles of the committees or within the membership, different things we can do to really sort of promote vaccinology and bring those up. And then the other thing that I'm interested in doing is promoting ISV as a resource, go-to organisation that people will want to go to today, want to learn about COVID vaccines, or a workshop for different sorts of developing vaccine things or regulations, or all the different aspects of the vaccine development pipeline, whether it goes from the bench to the bedside to the clinic. But there are all many opportunities that we can promote the development, we can promote career stages, and importantly, we can bring in the different aspects of industry, non-for-profit, everything else. I think with our status, we are very highly regarded as we're not biased. We're a completely unbiased organisation. And you mentioned previously that both Catherine Jansen and Sarah Gilbert have been involved. And just wanted to point out that those individuals are obviously key in the COVID vaccination programs. It's been involved with ISV for many, many years. Catherine's played a really important role in ISV for many years. So it's not just that, that they're important now, but they have been behind the scenes. And so many of the people that are involved with ISV have done that. They've played key roles. And the other thing that I do want to mention, I'm going to try to engage the expertise of the different people within the ISV executive board or the fellows, and somehow get that expertise going out more to the memberships, because we have a lot of expertise, which is really, a lot of it's not tapped yet for the benefit of the membership. So that's what I'm going to try and do, which is going to keep me busy, I think.
A very exciting and broad agenda that you have ahead of you. I hope you have a lot of time to make those things happen. But it's true that I can see and hear the passion and the enthusiasm in in your approach. So let's talk a little bit then practical. I already mentioned we need to talk about the finances too, because we talk about membership all the time. People might get a little bit scared. What does that mean? That might be very expensive, etc. But Ted, what does somebody need to do to become a member of the organization? How much does it cost? What do they need to do?
Well, it's actually very easy to become a member of ISV. You access our website. You can you have different levels which you can be, whether you're a trainee or whether you're a senior scientist. You select it. You pay a very nominal membership dues annually, and you're a member of ISV. And we ask you to maintain that membership each year. It's a year membership, but we do have the ability to do multi-year memberships for 3 years or 5 years. But really, compared to most societies, we are very minimal. And for students, you know, I can't remember, Shan, but it's like $35 for a student membership. It's very minimal.
That's correct. That's and also you get a discount for annual Congress anyway. Yeah.
And so it's very easy to become a member of ISV. And what we hope that you'll do is be a participant in ISV. You get to come to the meetings. We'll be on all our mailing lists, which you get access to all of these webinars that we've been submitting. And then hopefully you'll participate in that society.
And again, importance to, you say nominal amount, the amount is indeed such that anyone can afford it. There's no, you know, that is really not a limitation, because as Shan mentioned, if you attend an ISV meeting, you basically become a member automatically for 1 year. And the prices vary anywhere from maybe the $35 that you mentioned to $150 a year, right, Shan?
100, just $100. Regular member, just
even
100.
for people from the industry, just 100, right?
Yeah, no matter, membership doesn't matter whether you from industry or academia, is 100. I can emphasize from an economic point of view, for 16 years, we have not changed that rate.
Well, that's good. I think so. It's very important for everyone to realize that that should not be a reason to not become a member, right? So Denise, how can someone become an elected member of the board of directors?
So with the ISV board, there's elections every 2 years. As you've indicated, we're currently going to be changing the board, where I'll be coming in as president at the beginning of 2022. And there is before the annual general meeting, which is held sort of September, October this year, there is a call out to membership to indicate, to invite anyone that is interested in becoming a member of the board to submit a nomination. So we are encouraging anyone that's an ordinary member of ISV who's not already involved in the board to submit any nomination that they want to do. The nomination package has to provide a little bit of a background of the bio and what their interest is in ISV and what they would like to do, and to be supported by a support letter from either 2 ordinary members or from one of the fellows. So it's a very, very simple process. And then the packages will go out before the annual general meeting and people will be voted in for the board members. The current board is designed so that we include not just fellows of ISV, but we actually have 5 positions who are non-fellows, who are from the ordinary membership, to try and bring in everyone and to promote the next generation and try and build up everything. So people that then want to move up and to be the treasurer or the secretary, again, it's a nomination process. So it's very, very inclusive.
Yeah, and I must say, I've been a member of the board for the past 2 years, and it is interesting because it's an experience to learn more about the organization and to possibly get more involved. But I can imagine that there may be some barrier to people who really do not know what needs to get done. And in my situation, I was asked by somebody to submit that nomination letter. So I think it's really important that people realize that you can self-nominate yourself, but also for members to reach out to other members and explain what the process is, because the more people we can choose from, the better it is. And I think it really helps making this a vibrant organization going forward, right? So thank you for that.
I think the other opportunity is also because the congresses, as Shan meant, are located in different regions throughout the world. And what we're finding is that people that are assisting with the Congress organisation are also then becoming aware of ISV, getting involved, and then also progressing onto the board.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for that. So Shan, then the other question or miracle that people might be thinking about is, how do you become a fellow? What do you need to do to become a fellow?
Yeah, I think we don't have very strict criteria. What we have observed and what we practice since we installed the fellowship fellow title. I think there are two pathways. One, certainly based on your contribution in the field of vaccinology, the current fellow nominate you. I can give you example, stem blocking. Okay, so that's kind of no-brainer. Or you just mentioned Catherine Jensen, for example, or Sarah joined last year because of her amazing achievement in her career. So those are certainly the main group of fellows. So you have to make enough contribution in science, in technology, in vaccine-related field. But also, if you look at the list of our members, you do see some relatively junior, maybe less well-known in science technology, but they really put a lot of effort or period of time in participating in ISV activity, either become a board member or really did a lot of work during that unique period. And so this is a complete democratic process. So people will nominate, people will vote, fellow will vote at the end. So it is majority. If you have more than half of the fellows say you're not qualified, then you cannot be elected. So you have two pathways. I personally, because I start at that time, I was not board member when I worked with Ray to reorganize the first thing from an academic background, junior level from my early career. I have realized how to open up a society like this. It's very important. When I joined, the board member, most are European or North American people, no other, like an old boy club, which I don't think is good. I don't mean to criticize anyone, but this is the old way of many professional society. Since I have been involved, we instituted a very democratic process, very open, no one dominate any other people. I personally feel a lot of people don't know. This is a great organization and very open. People just want to say, I want to do things. As long as you want to do things, the opportunity is unlimited. That's what I can say.
And I think from a diversity perspective, we're doing quite well, but maybe getting more younger people involved, as Denise was pointing out, and even though they come to the conferences, but getting them more involved in board positions would be probably a real good way moving forward. So thank you. That was a good explanation, Shan.
Can I just add one comment there that I think it's probably really important also to realize that there's some very, very high profile vaccinologists involved with ISV. So it can be a little bit daunting to particularly junior members, but the membership and the people involved with ISV are incredibly open and supportive, mentoring. And so people shouldn't feel that, it's, wow, this is a person I can't talk to. That's part of the role of what we're trying to do, is to really mentor young people and bring the young people in and really promote the development and the involvement of others. So people shouldn't be put off by the fact that there are these really, really high profile vaccinologists involved, because we represent everyone, not just.
And that's why it's so nice that Shan indicates that there's two paths to become a fellow, that you can also become a fellow by really being very actively involved in various roles within the organization. So that's really good. I think we touched briefly, and I think it's important enough to touch on it again, on finances of the organization, the fact that it is a voluntary organization, but the reason why congresses and in-person meetings are so important, and maybe Shan can speak to this, is there are obviously a lot of sponsors from the vaccine industry, from institutions that help us do what we do. And maybe you want to say a few more words about that, Shan, also the journals that are supporting us, because I think that is also very helpful for young people to know that we have very close collaborations with journals that can then be, access to write papers.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, because doing work, you do need money, unfortunately. Even digital, you think it's cheap, it's not. You hire technician, you rent space, online storage, it's huge. But we have managed. ISV probably is one of the most economically run low-cost operation. First of all, we are a US IRS tax exempt organization, so we have to satisfy certain rule. So we don't do many of the big industry sponsorship or anyone want to dominate our program selling their product. We don't accept that. But at the same time, we do work with nonprofit organizations such as Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. They have been our sponsor for many years. We also work with Canada, the Canada Research Council, other organizations. But we do accept sponsorship from the industry. But we are not promoting any CME, the education credit, or their product. We don't allow them at all. So they just come in with scientific background, education, other things based on how much money they give. We put them into different category for the benefit of member of Congress. So we run very careful operation with the current standard, But also we run very economically. None of our officer or board member are paid. So we don't pay any personal compensation. More frequently, many of our members donate their own money for the society, like Dr. Margaret Liu donated her personal money to the society. Many other people did the same thing. And we sometimes use our own institutions' resource, subsidize some of the personnel costs. And that's why financially we're doing very well. We have several $100,000 deposit in the bank from, I said, from 2008. We have nothing. We basically run a very cautious, cost-effective operation. We want to take this opportunity, thank all the sponsors. We hope we have more people, either personal or industry organizing, support the common cause of vaccine development and the education next generation.
Education is so important, and indeed it does cost money to set up systems for those people to interact with one another.
Oh, so by the way, we even in the past few years, we even give out a fellowship, scholarship to many people with funding from Gates Foundation or other private or public donations.
That's beautiful. So we have 3 minutes left, and actually one of the questions that we talked about, but where I want to give each of you 1 minute more opportunity to talk about is what does somebody need to do when they want to, for example, become part of the Paper of the Month committee? Ted, Denise, Shan, just your last 30 seconds.
All they have to do is reach out either to one of us, reach out to one of the officers, or just reach out to the website. The Secretariat will forward anything to us. So if you want to contribute, you want to be part of any of our committees or any ways that maybe we haven't thought of that you want to contribute, we're always welcome to hear your thoughts and your concerns.
Thank you. And I'll make sure that there will be a website or an email address listed at the conference wrap up so that people know who to reach out to. Denise, any final thoughts?
There's also the Isv Newsletter, which provides a lot of information to the membership, but also provides an opportunity, for the membership to contribute particular stories or particular opportunities within the membership. So as Ted says, we're very open, lots of opportunities there. So anything you want to contribute, just let anyone know, and there's lots of opportunities to choose to do that.
That's great. That's a very good point, because we didn't address that extensively yet, that there's a job opportunity as well. So Shan, final comment?
I think anyone, if you just have a slight interest, just approach us. Like Ted said, we have a web email address. It's public available. We list it everywhere. So don't think of what the ISV want you to do. You think of what you want to do. Then you tell us that's the thing you want to do. That's it. So it's very easy. Then we'll do work with you.
And that is also a great way to wrap this up, right? Because I think
that's right.
One of the real reasons why we want to get new people involved, more people involved, is we want to come up with new ideas, how to better connect, how to more interact, etc. So any ideas you have, please feel free to share them with us and work with us. And again, Denise, Ted, Shan, I think this has been wonderful. This was really a fast track education on who is ISB and what can I do to become part of it. I hope that the participants are enjoying this, but I want to thank you very much for your time and for making this information available to all. Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you.
hosting this. Thank you.